that's why Carolina's in Chapel Hill and USC's in California. And the university in this state always has been, always will be, Clemson. Print that, tweet that.
And I hope they come in here undefeated. That's what I told you before the game. Our team believes. Our team believes. They got heart. We got greatness in us. They say we can't do it. What they say now?
Down go the champs. Auburn's 17-game win streak comes to an end.
We got greatness in us. So I told them, you got greatness in you, but you got to make a decision to be great. They made a decision to be great today. And I couldn't think of a better place to end the streak. It's Death Valley, South Carolina, baby.
And now it's time for TigerNet Talk, presented by Cross Creek Timber and Cross Creek Realty.
They got the coaches back, and they have each other's back.
Welcome back into another edition of TigerNet Talk. I'm your host, Lawton Swan. Thank you for stopping by. I'm going to spend about an hour or so with you talking about the Clemson Tigers, and boy, oh boy, do we have a show for you. I know spring football's underway. I know the night game against Georgia's in your mind. I know you can't get enough of Clemson Tiger basketball. I get that. Michael Dean Perry joins us in about 15 minutes, so you'll want to be here for that. Michael Dean Perry. Now, it's funny because I mentioned this on Clemson Hotline earlier this week, Sunday nights at 9 p.m. There are some people, you tell them that you're having Michael Dean Perry come on the show, and if they're not Clemson people, they may not know who you're talking about. The name Michael Dean Perry sounds like a very famous actor. He sounds like somebody that could have been in 90210 or perhaps an actor in Friends. But Michael Dean Perry, the brother of William the Refrigerator Perry, joins us. And if you don't know him, if you're a young Clemson Tiger fan and you don't know him, he is one of the greatest Clemson Tiger football players in history. In history. You want to talk the C.J. Spillers, the Woodrow Dantzlers? For you young listeners to the program, Michael Dean Perry is right there at the top of the list for many people. So we are looking forward to having him on the program with us in just a little bit. But thank you for stopping by. The way you can participate with us, and we've already got some tweets that have come in that we're going to ask Michael Dean later on in the program. But if you want to tweet to us, put hashtag TNTalk all together, all one word, and we will make sure that we get that question to Michael if we can keep him on long enough. Of course, he'll have to go through the Clemson 10. You can email us, clemson81@gmail.com. That's easy. Clemson81@gmail.com. I've been a little bit under the weather. Fortunately, though, not a cough. So I should be good to go, but I do have my handy water here. And if you want to give us a call, 803-450-0086. Every so often when we try to punch somebody through, though, to do an interview or have a question taken to a guest, we've had some problems in the past, so we won't do that. We'll just have him on the line. But please, tweet to us questions in the chat room, in the viewer chat. If you're with us here on Spreecast, I know over at TigerNet, they are going to be putting us up on the front page momentarily. You can also watch the show on ClemsonSportsTalk.com under the live tab. All right, all that's out of the way. Now, back to the reason you tuned into the show, to talk about your Clemson Tiger basketball team. The Tigers fall to Boston College, 68-61. Senior night for Milton Jennings and Devin Booker. And unfortunately for those two Tigers, they'll go out, or they'll finish their career disappointingly. And it's sad because I think the expectations that came in with Milton Jennings were huge. I think you could argue some of the largest expectations Clemson fans had ever put on a player in the history of the program. Now, in his final showing, though, in Little John Coliseum, he started out playing the way that many of us would have hoped that he would play his whole career. He was on fire early. Jennings for the game goes 8 for 15. He gives you 18 points. Booker gives you 19. So you get everything you can out of those seniors. They step up. They really did play a good game, the two of them. But what has become frustratingly disappointing for me, at least, is that where I think Coach Brownell has made a couple of mistakes. And I've said this before, that I feel like we need to go to a little bit more of a pressure defense from time to time, run more of what you see in Oliver Purnell when he was at Clemson run, to take advantage of some of the athleticism that Clemson does have and maybe make up for some of the gaps that you have in basketball talent. And as Clemson got into a bit of a drought late in the game, around about the 8-minute, 8:45 or so in the game, they really went into a funk, just couldn't score. I don't think that we have the players that we could run a defense like that the entire game. But I do think you see these moments where we could clearly run that type of defense, force turnovers, and end droughts. And you don't have to stay in it the whole time. Get the turnover, maybe two. You know, instead of having to do that late in the game, to fight to give yourself an opportunity to trim the lead to 3 or to 2. Instead, when you start to feel that momentum waning, when you start to feel that opponent starting to maybe take advantage of the fact that you're not all that great offensively and you're in a drought, switch things up defensively a little bit. I think it would really help out. I mean, losing to this Boston College team twice this season is probably as bad as losing to Coastal Carolina. No, all kidding aside, that's how bad this loss is. Clemson 13-16, 5-12 in Atlantic Coast Conference play. And it wasn't that long ago. I mean, that's the thing probably about it the most. You look back, it wasn't that long ago that you had a fairly decent record in conference play. But 5 straight losses. You're going on the road to Miami. That's a 2:30 start on a Saturday. Miami, one of the best teams not only in the Atlantic Coast Conference this year, which we believe is down here on the program, but one of the better and more balanced basketball teams in the country. A team that's clearly coming together at the right time. And they're very fundamentally sound. So it's going to be difficult to go down to Miami and get a win. Not to mention, too, let's not forget that this is a Miami fan base right now that's really energized about this basketball team. I remember when LeBron James made his big announcement about, I'm going to take my talents to South Beach, and everybody just gave him so much grief over it. And now he's really become the darling of the NBA with the way he's played, and you got to give him a ton of credit for where he's taken his game this season, playing as good as I've seen any player play. But I wondered at that time, I was doing a show called Y'all Sports Daily. It was 2 hours of Southern sports talk. And I wondered at that time, would having a LeBron James in Miami do anything for the Miami basketball program? Because they really weren't all that good when he made that announcement. And I don't think there's been a whole lot of carryover at all. And I don't think it's really helped players decide, hey, I want to go to Miami, because you know D. Wade and LeBron James and Chris Bosh were doing some scrimmaging with the Hurricanes in the past. That's enough to get some kids maybe to at least be intrigued by the Hurricane program. But I think now what you have seen is, since the Miami Heat have been so successful, that there is an urge in the city of Miami for the Miami Hurricanes, at least, to become relevant in college basketball. I think there's a bit of a push there right now. They're excited about it. Shane Larkin's playing great at the point guard position for them. He's been a difference maker. And it's rare that you have a guy who transfers into your program that really makes a difference the way he has this early in his career. But he has. And for Clemson now, I mean, you're looking squarely in the face of, if there's one bright side of the way things are shaping up right now, it at least looks as if you're going to be on the opposite side of the bracket from the Dukes and the North Carolinas of the world. So maybe you find a way. Maybe you find a way to survive a couple of rounds in the Atlantic Coast Conference tournament because you're not going up against the top-tier talent. But what has Clemson done? You have to go back all the way to Valentine's Day for a Clemson Tiger victory. And before that, it was at the end of January. 2 wins for the Clemson Tigers in a month of basketball play, basically. A little bit over a month. What could have been? You know, what could have been when Clemson traveled on the road to play at Boston College back in early February. The Tigers sitting right in the mix, right in the middle of this league, something you only hope for. There was finishing 8-8 in Atlantic Coast Conference play at 500 was a good thing at one time. That was okay with people. Oh, but losers now of, 8 out of their last 9 ball games, and potentially going to 9 out of their last 10 ball games if they can't find a way to get a win at Miami. And to see Milton Jennings and Devin Booker and Coach Brownell giving these speeches after the game to basically an empty arena. And if you ask me, do I feel like the fans should have stuck around to hear those guys? Well, there weren't a whole lot of fans there to start with. The investment that the student body has in this team right now is low. The investment from the IPTAY fans, those people that give, those high-money donors, their investment in this program is low. And that could be the biggest thing going against Coach Brad Brownell right now. We know that we were under-talented coming into this season. We knew that fact. We know next year we're going to be limited in the post without Jennings and Booker. We know those things. But when you're not getting support from the fans and the high-money donors aren't showing up and there are empty seats all around the court, there's a major problem. And I personally believe, and I'll continue to stand by the fact that Brad Brownell is a great coach. I think he has missed some opportunities, though, this year. I'll be honest with you, over the past 3 games, I've been fairly disappointed with his lack of recognition, like I said earlier, that with pressure basketball on the defensive end of the floor, extending our defense every once in a while in games helps us tremendously. We pick up our level of play. We pick up our aggression to the basket. We don't rely on jump shots. And that is huge when you're a team that doesn't shoot the ball all that well. And we obviously can't rely on a free throw to be made. That's clearly out of the question. Clemson basketball and free throws just don't mix. It's funny because I asked Tony Christie one time. I had Tony on the show, but off the air I asked him about it. I said, is there a slight breeze that blows through Little John Coliseum that we don't know about as fans? Is there something else going on there? Because Tony will tell you that when he arrived on campus, he was a great shooter in high school. And there were a bunch of other guys just like him that have come into Clemson. They've shot 80 to 83% maybe in high school. They come to Clemson and they shoot 65%. A drop-off like you can't believe. I don't know if it's a jinx. I don't know if it's a curse. I don't know if it's just the fact that it's Clemson basketball. But I do know that at this point in the season, sitting where we are, slowly on that climb towards the bottom of the Atlantic Coast Conference, I'm as frustrated as I've been because I do feel like, even given our deficiencies, we've given a lot of games away. We've given away a ton of opportunities. And that's what I think is so disappointing, and that's what's so disheartening. If you look back to Clemson football, so many seasons where there were games that came down to the final minutes, you lose a couple of one-point ball games, maybe you miss a field goal at the end. Those games somehow find a way to tear and rip at a fan base more than the one blowout. Some people can stand or take one blowout versus constantly having your heart ripped out. Because for most of that one blowout, many of you just pack it on in and head out to the car and don't worry about it. Maybe you jump in and get out of town before things get too ugly. But when you're in it, when you fight back, when you, as I always say, scratch and claw, to cut it to 3, to cut it to 2, with just a minute or so left, and then clank a free throw. That's Clemson basketball for you. That is Clemson basketball. We're going to be back, folks, here on TigerNet Talk. Michael Dean Perry joins us. Stay with us. Miss that old familiar ping of college baseball? Well, guess what? You don't have to miss a single game of Clemson Tiger baseball, as you can stay at the closest hotel to Doug Kingsmore Stadium, the Clemson University Conference Center and Inn. Rooms are available for baseball season with lakeside accommodations, complimentary continental breakfast, bar, Seasons Restaurant by the Lake, Joe's Place Bar, and the Walker Golf Course. All are waiting for you right around the corner from the stadium. For reservations, contact General Manager Sharon Franks at sharonf@clemson.edu or call toll-free 1-888-654-9020 and ask to speak to Sharon. It's the Clemson University Conference Center and Inn. Go to www.clemsonuniversityin.com. G-Dog General Dentistry at Oak Grove is located on Highway 1 near the Barnyard Flea Market. Modern, relaxing dentistry with TVs and headphones in every room, nitrous and even oral sedation. Digital diagnostic x-rays for better quality and 85% less radiation exposure. And check out their new Clemson Patient Special. Mention that you heard about G-Dog here on the Clemson Sports Talk programs and receive an extra 5% off all services through football season. If you don't have a regular dentist, go see my dentist, Dr. Rick Jackson at G-Dog. That's General Dentistry at Oak Grove. A winning team requires having great team members. If you're a landowner interested in selling timber or are considering buying or selling land, call the winning team of Cross Creek Timber and Cross Creek Realty, LLC today. Put the knowledge and skills of professional licensed foresters and realtors to work for your team. To learn more about services offered by Cross Creek Timber and Cross Creek Realty, LLC, visit www.crosscreektimber.com and easily follow the link to real estate or reach them by phone 864-517-3620 or 864-517-3621. Clemson Sports Talk fans, let us help you. With rates starting as low as $100 a month, you can advertise with us through July 2013. We are currently seeking additional advertisers and would love to help you spread the word about your business. Email us clemson81@gmail.com for additional information. Sponsors will receive an ad during the show and a link and logo in the weekly show notes on TigerNet and on the front page of ClemsonSportsTalk.com. Take your business to the Clemson fans around the world with us, ClemsonSportsTalk.com. Blake Austin of South Carolina Farm Bureau is an insurance agent you can count on to meet all your needs. Home, auto, health, life, you name it, Blake's got you covered, and he can save you on your yearly rates. Call him now for a free quote, 803-259-5008. That's 803-259-5008. Or just go to ClemsonSportsTalk.com and click on the Farm Bureau logo to be connected to Blake. Do like I do and work with the best agent around, and you can tweet that.
I thought I'd grow up and I'd settle down. There was 10,000 girls up in Tiger Town, and it was heaven to me.
Welcome back into TigerNet Talk, presented by Cross Creek Realty and Cross Creek Timber. And my goodness, it continues to get better. We've got Michael Dean Perry on the show for all you Clemson Tiger fans tonight. Former Clemson Tiger great, former NFL great, and Michael, we were talking off the air. You and I, we come from basically the same region of South Carolina, the CSRA. Thank you so much for spending time with us here on the program. I know Clemson fans can't wait to hear from you.
Yeah, and you know what CSRA means, don't you?
Central Savannah River Area.
Not many people know that, I tell you.
No, they don't.
You're a homeboy. Nice talking to you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for coming on with us. Well, you had a fantastic career at Clemson. Obviously, you move on. You play for the Browns from 1988 to 1994 and the Broncos from 1995 to 97. One game with the Chiefs in 97. And everybody in Clemson has so much admiration for you and your brother and what the Perry brothers mean to Clemson University. How does that make you feel when people just walk up to you and say, you're one of the greatest to ever play the game in Tiger Town?
Well, first of all, I appreciate all the comments and what that means to me, and also I can probably speak for my brother. There's always a plus when you have others really tooting your horn and looking at and just remembering the smiles and the excitement that you brought to Death Valley. So it's great.
Well, talking about your brother for a second, how is he doing? I know he had some health issues recently. What's the situation with him? How's William?
Well, William is doing pretty good. He's had some issues with his health, of course, in the past, and recently was admitted to the hospital because of some infection, but that's pretty much taken care of. They got some antibiotics, and he's out now, so he's doing pretty good.
Now, your brother goes on to win a Super Bowl with the Chicago Bears. He's nicknamed the Refrigerator, but my whole life when I was growing up, you were just called Michael Dean. Is there a significance to having both names?
You know, it's funny you say that because when I came to Clemson in '83, of course, I was redshirted and then started playing. And then William became this larger-than-life figure in '85 when he went to Chicago. And a reporter asked me during fan day that fall, he said, okay, he's the Refrigerator. What's your nickname? I said, Michael Dean Perry. And really, that's when everybody started calling me Michael Dean Perry because really it was just Michael Perry. But I said Michael Dean Perry, and everybody from then on really started calling me by my whole name.
Well, it worked out for you because you ended up going to Cleveland and they named a hamburger after you, the MDP.
Yeah, that was a heart attack on a bun. Triple cheese, triple bacon. I tell you what, cardiologist didn't love me.
Well, you got a hamburger named after you, but William had that G.I. Joe figure, for crying out loud. Did you ever laugh at him about that? And would you have ever wanted to have the Michael Dean Perry G.I. Joe figure?
You know what? Still today, that guy has done so many things, I can't keep up with it. Every one or 2 months, somebody say, hey, man, I seen your brother, doing this. I saw your brother doing that. I'm like, really, I can't keep up. I mean, the guy is just a huge figure. I mean, it's like 1985 never stopped.
I heard that.
He's good, though. He enjoys it.
We've got Michael Dean Perry here on TigerNet Talk, presented by Cross Creek Timber and Cross Creek Realty. We were talking during the break, right when you came on, about all of your siblings and people that had worked with some of my friends. But sibling rivalries are so special. What was it about yours and William's relationship, maybe, or some other brothers and sisters that really that you shared as kids, and how that motivated you and pushed you to become such an exceptional athlete?
Well, no doubt about it. And here was the interesting thing. Because William and I played pro football, they thought William and I were the closest. But it really wasn't. Let me tell you this. I had 11 older brothers and sisters, and everybody had a best friend, so to speak. Holly, my oldest brother, and Freddie, they were best friends. Shirley and Patsy, they were best friends. Willie and Robert, they were best friends. Lynthia and Vivian were best friends. William and Leonard were pretty tight. They were best friends. And myself and my brother Darryl, who's a year older, we hung together. So everybody had a compadre, so to speak, and that's how it felt. And, of course, when I went to Clemson, of course, we became a lot closer. But growing up, it was myself and Darryl.
Well,
you know what? You're absolutely right. I think Michael Jordan had said this one time about his brother Larry, is that when he could beat Larry in basketball because Larry was such a good player, and when I finished playing football, I used to play pickup games with Larry Jordan. He is pretty good. And so when Michael said, when he beat Larry, his brother,
right,
he can beat anybody. And that's how I felt playing against my brothers. If I can beat those guys and hang with those guys, you know what? I can beat anybody. And sibling rivalries make you very, very competitive and very tough.
Well, you ended up being a 6-time Pro Bowler, 4-time All-Pro. But in 1989, your second year in the league, a very special season for you, as you were named the AFC Defensive Player of the Year. What do you remember about that season? I mean, I know you were probably just wide open at that age, but what do you recall about that season?
Well, it's interesting, the 1989 season. Marty Schottenheimer, Ernie Accorsi, the head coach and GM in Cleveland, drafted me in '88, and they played a 3-4 defense. So I played defensive end in college as well as my first year with Cleveland. And so Marty got fired and went to Kansas City, and they brought a guy, Bud Carson, in. He was the architect of the steel curtain. He was in New York with the Sack Exchange. Gastineau and Klinko. And he had a position, the nose tackle played a cock nose, where you're tilted on the center. And my defensive line coach, John Chilling, saw me play in third down situations. I was the fourth rusher. So he looked at the film. He said, "My God, you're never going to come off the field." So he was a new coach, and that's my second year. I'm like, yeah, right, okay. But sure enough, they put in the cock nose, and also I played a aggressive three technique, which is outside shade of the guard. And all they told me to do is, get penetration, make plays in the backfield. And that's what I focused on, and I had a great year.
Michael Dean Perry here with us on TigerNet Talk for all you Clemson fans out there. Of course, the show presented by Cross Creek Timber and Cross Creek Realty. Not only were you a handful in the NFL, but you were dominant in the ACC back in your day. You were the ACC Defensive Player of the Year in 1987, 24 tackles for loss, 10 sacks. Clemson goes 10-2. You win the Atlantic Coast Conference title. Your size and speed was so unusual for the time. I mean, we've really seen a development in the defensive linemen, especially defensive ends as of late, that really have that speed, more like an outside linebacker skill set. But looking back, did you realize just how special your talents were?
No, I didn't. I really didn't. Now, of course, now that I'm retired, even when I played on the pro level, and I watched the games, and Cortez Kennedy is a good friend of mine, of course, Hall of Famer. And, we watch games, and we just talk about the defensive linemen. And we were like, man, if we were playing this day and age, well, I tell you what, we showed enough would be a terror. Because I sit and watch games on the collegiate level and also on the pro level, and you don't see a lot of defensive tackles being able to rush the passer, get tackles for a loss. I mean, usually the outside linebackers now on defensive end. When I was in the league, we had a number of inside guys that could penetrate, was very versatile. They can play inside or out. And you're right, it's a lost art now to have a defensive tackle to play the pass and the run really well. I mean, I never came off the field in college or pro, and to have the kind of success that I've had on both levels is. It's just hard work, and I have to give credit to one of my defensive line coaches, and that was Tom Harper. He passed, I think, in the early 90s. Old guy, about 75 years old. We used to call him the Silver Fox, Tom Harper. And I tell you what, that man could coach. And a lot of what I learned and how I approached the game, I learned from him as well as other players. But he was a very important piece in my development and me being the player that I turned out to be.
Well, I can tell just hearing you talk about him, I think you come in touch with people in your life, those transitional people that make such a difference for you, and I know that'll mean a lot to his family to hear that. You broke.
And I played with one of his sons, Jay Seahawk, at Clemson.
Oh, okay. Okay, I don't.
Yeah, he played at Clemson as well.
Now, you went on to break your brother's ACC record for career tackles for loss with 61 and career sacks. You had 28, and you still hold that record for career tackles. But Gaines Adams, who, of course, tragically passed away way too early, tied that accomplishment with you for the sacks mark. Did you ever get a chance to talk to Gaines about that mark when he tied you?
I don't know if we talked about the record, but I had several conversations with Adams, and he was a great kid. He had an outstanding career at Clemson. It was just so tragic to see him, leave us so early. But I just like Adams, the individual, and I think that's what Tiger fans should know is that I can honestly say I think he was a better person, even. More so than a better football player. He was a good guy, nice guy, a country boy, and you just hate that situations like that happen to guys like that. Some of the hell raisers and knuckleheads, they live forever.
Yeah, I heard that.
It seems that way anyway.
I heard that. Michael Dean Perry here with us. We're going to send it out to a short break. Michael's going to stay on with us, and we're going to put him through the Clemson 10 and a couple of final questions. And we got a couple of questions coming to him from the chat room. But, man, I tell you what a fantastic night here on TigerNet Talk presented by Cross Creek Timber and Cross Creek Realty, a true Clemson legend, with us here on the program. Stay with us, Tiger fans.
I wanted to be just like Jeff Davis when I grew up, tackling Seminoles and Bulldogs, playing football in the mud. So everybody sing Tiger Rag at the top of your lungs, and we'll party like it's 1981.
A winning team requires having great team members. If you're a landowner interested in selling timber or are considering buying or selling land, call the winning team of Cross Creek Timber and Cross Creek Realty, LLC today. Put the knowledge and skills of professional, licensed foresters and realtors to work for your team. To learn more about the forestry and real estate services offered by Cross Creek Timber, call 864-517-3620 and Cross Creek Realty, LLC at 864-517-3621. Or visit www.crosscreektimber.com and easily follow the link to real estate. G-Dog General Dentistry at Oak Grove is located on Highway 1 near the Barnyard Flea Market. Modern, relaxing dentistry with TVs and headphones in every room, nitrous and even oral sedation. Digital diagnostic x-rays for better quality and 85% less radiation exposure. And check out their new Clemson Patient Special. Mention that you heard about G-Dog here on the Clemson Sports Talk programs and receive an extra 5% off all services through football season. If you don't have a regular dentist, go see my dentist, Dr. Rick Jackson at G-Dog. That's General Dentistry at Oak Grove.
There's something about looking and feeling classy that everyone enjoys. Check out Edisto Outdoors, an apparel brand inspired by our southern animals and environment. These shirts feature soft touch prints that will keep you looking your best in all types of weather. Look for Edisto Outdoors, coming soon to many fine retailers across the state, or visit www.edistooutdoors.com. Technical, comfortable, livable.
Blake Austin of South Carolina Farm Bureau is an insurance agent you can count on to meet all your needs. Home, auto, health, life, you name it, Blake's got you covered, and he can save you on your yearly rates. Call him now for a free quote, 803-259-5008. That's 803-259-5008. Or just go to ClemsonSportsTalk.com and click on the Farm Bureau logo to be connected to Blake. Do like I do and work with the best agent around, and you can tweet that. Clemson Sports Talk fans, let us help you. With rates starting as low as $100 a month, you can advertise with us through July 2013. We are currently seeking additional advertisers and would love to help you spread the word about your business. Email us clemson81@gmail.com for additional information. Sponsors will receive an ad during the show and a link and logo in the weekly show notes on TigerNet and on the front page of ClemsonSportsTalk.com. Take your business to the Clemson fans around the world with us, ClemsonSportsTalk.com.
Coach Ford, I wrote this song for you. I'm singing from my heart. There's something special in your style. I've known it from the start. Oh, listen up, we won't give up.
Welcome back into TigerNet Talk, presented by Cross Creek Timber and Cross Creek Realty. And, of course, that song called Coach Ford, I wrote this song for you. He was your head coach at Clemson. Do you stay in touch with Coach Danny Ford?
Yes, we known to see each other at different functions, reunions. So, yeah, I probably see Coach Ford maybe once or twice a year, reminisce a little bit, and shoot the breeze.
Michael
He's a lot better now that he's not my head coach.
I guarantee you that.
He's a little more relaxed now.
I guarantee everybody says that about him.
Yeah. Well, I tell you one thing. Those practices of 907, that was, oh, my God.
Well,
they were brutal.
Michael Dean Perry, of course, former Clemson Tiger, is our guest here on TigerNet Talk. And you were inducted into the Clemson Hall of Fame back in 2000. You were named to the 50th anniversary Atlantic Coast Conference football team. You sit back in your chair at night sometimes and just, rub your top of your head and go, my goodness, I can't believe all that.
No, very seldom do I do that. Only time really that I probably sit back and reminisce is when I do a show like this, or I may have a Clemson fan or a Cleveland Brown fan, whatever, and they just talk about we enjoyed seeing you play, watching you play, and I remember some of these plays and things that you did. And then you sit back and you kind of think about it. You're like, oh yeah, that was pretty nice. That was pretty fun. So that's pretty much the only time I probably just sit back and reminisce and really think about some of the accomplishments and what I've done in the college arena and the pro level.
One of our loyal listeners, Chris, he's at CU Tailgater on Twitter. He wrote in and wanted to know who was the first quarterback you sacked in college. Do you remember who that was?
Wow, that's a good question. I know my first game, I think, was Western Carolina. That was the first game William and I played together. I don't know if I got a sack that game, but I think I got a sack the next game.
When you get so many, it's hard to keep up with them.
I can't remember if it was. What's that?
I say when you get so many, it's hard to keep up with them.
I don't know about that, if it's just old age.
Now, you are one of the few Clemson Tigers who is going to fall into this category, and I don't even know if you realized you fell into it. I'm sure you did, but you capped your Clemson career with a 35-10 win against Penn State. But earlier that season, you had played your final game in Death Valley against Maryland, or so you thought. The Carolina Panthers come to town, and you're with the Denver Broncos at that time. You got a chance to play in Death Valley one last time.
Mm-hmm.
A unique situation. I was there for that game, and I just recall the reception you got from the crowd. What was that like? Because you had another chance to play inside Memorial Stadium.
Well, we always talk about when I'm talking about when I played the NFL, like when Clemson plays, Maryland or South Carolina guys who play for these teams. You always talk about the times when you were there and just how crazy it was playing in Death Valley. And we always had a saying in Death Valley when I was playing. It was that if we don't beat you, we're going to beat you up. And coaches and players always say the same thing. You know what? After we play Clemson, we normally lose the next game because Clemson plays so physical that a lot of guys just weren't able to play 100% their next opponent. But coming back to Clemson after 7 years, thinking that my last game in Death Valley was, of course, that Maryland game, but to come back and receive that reception, it just really shows just how special and how wonderful Death Valley was, and the Clemson fans just so appreciative of what I was able to do and how I presented myself and represented myself and my family, as well as my school, and it was just a special time. I really, really enjoyed it.
Well, TigerNet Talk fans, here comes your favorite part of the interview, the Clemson 10. We're trying to make it a tradition here on the program. We've put some of the greats in Clemson Tiger history through it. Michael Dean Perry, former Clemson Tiger, goes through the Clemson 10 right here. 10 short answer questions, Michael, about your career at Clemson. Number one, what does Clemson mean to Michael Dean Perry?
Clemson means family, intimate. I think my wife, of course, when we talked about Clemson, of course, she went to Clemson as well. I got a daughter now that's at Clemson. And the one thing about Clemson that we always say is intimate, family atmosphere.
Describe the first time you ran down the hill on a game day.
Oh, let me tell you this story. The only time that I was unhappy at Clemson University was my freshman year when Coach Ford said, we're going to redshirt you. I was like, you got to be kidding me. I don't want to be redshirted. And so when you're on scout team, and if you're practicing really well, giving the offense a great look, then they say, okay, you can dress out home or away, whatever the case may be. So Coach Ford said, listen, since you had a good weekend on scout team, I'm going to let you run down the hill. I said, Coach Ford, let me tell you something. When I run down that hill, I want to play. I didn't want to run that hill and stay on the sideline. I waited until the next year before I ran down that hill, and it was electrifying. I mean, that's the best college entry to a game in the nation, by far.
You've talked about a bunch of people who've influenced you, but who's had the biggest influence on Michael Dean Perry's life?
Probably my mother. I would have to say she was the biggest influence. The value system that she instilled in not just me, but all of us. She didn't have perfect children, but she tried to raise them perfectly, if you understand what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
So she was our, I would look at her as a modern-day Solomon. A lot of wisdom. A lot of wisdom.
Your favorite spot on campus. If you could snap your fingers right now and magically go back to your days at Clemson, where are you?
P&A building, milkshakes.
Oh, yeah. Hey, I'm with you. Chocolate, right?
That was my favorite place. I go and take biology, but of course, before we go in, a lot of students and the professor would even come in with a milkshake. I mean, that was the place.
I'll be honest here. I took a dairy class just to go out there. No kidding. Probably cost me like $600-700 in milkshakes. What was your
milkshakes? Well, legendary. That and Max. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, no doubt about that
Max
too. But they'll tell you on TigerNet, don't order a milkshake at Max because they don't like it. What was your greatest moment during your time at Clemson? You had a lot of great ones. Which one would you put at the top of the list?
Football-wise?
Sure. I mean, you can go wherever you want.
I don't know if I have one in particular that I can recall. I think the one that really sticks out, and most athletes are like this, the good ones, they always remember the negative ones more so than the positive. And all I can remember my senior season, at least my senior season for NC State, it was up 30-0 at halftime. I think that was 86 or 87. I can't remember. I think it was 87. And we went in halftime, and Coach Ford was hot. I mean, that's the worst I've seen Coach Ford. And he came in at halftime, and he said, I don't know what and some words I can't say on radio. And he got the guys together. He said, look, this is what we're going to do. Defense, you out there first. You 3 and out. Offense, get the ball, we're going to score. Defense, going back out, 3 and out. So, and we're going to win this game. And it happened almost exactly like he said. I mean, we went out there, we shut NC State down, and we were one pass away from coming back from a 30-0 halftime score. That's what I remember, how hard we fought back to try and win that game. Because at that point, I think we were like 8-0, 7 or 8-0. I think it was 8-0.
So would you classify?
We were undefeated, so it was 8-0. Yeah.
Would you classify that? Because my next question was your toughest moment. I mean, is that where you would put that?
Yeah, that's one of the toughest.
How about your most difficult?
Actually, the toughest. I think the toughest. I would have to go back to my redshirt freshman year. We played Maryland, and I mean, I ain't never seen guys that big. I think every last one of those guys were like 6'5", 6'6", about 320. And they had a fullback named Adonic. I don't know if you remember that name. And they had Frank Wright. I think he's a quarterback. And they must have had, that's the only time I can remember ever playing for Clemson. And we had a very, very bad day when it came to stopping the run. And I think Maryland had about 200 yards rushing. And I mean, we couldn't stop anyone. I mean, we wouldn't hit the water if we fell off the boat. I mean, it was just that bad.
How about your most difficult class you ever took at Clemson? One that just had you pulling your hair out at night.
Oh my God! I had to do a computer science class, and we had to run a program. And let me tell you something. After that class, I never took another computer class again.
Best stadium.
It must have took me about 3 or 4 hours trying to run that program. You had to pretty much, do it yourself.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh my God.
Back then it was tough.
Yeah, it was different.
Computer was a new thing. No, I'm just kidding.
Exactly.
Your daughters probably beat you up about that story. What's the best stadium that you ever played in on the road?
The best stadium? William Bryce, of course. Every time we come to town, that stadium is rocking. But I would probably give the edge to Georgia, between the hedges. That was tough to play.
How about that series kicking off, night game in Death Valley? I know you're going to be there for that one.
What was that?
The night game this year, kicking off.
Yeah, that's right. How many years has it been now?
I think we played them last in 2003. They beat us 30-0, so we're due, right?
Wow. Yeah, you're right about that. I'd be a great rival if you ever become to us for sure.
2 questions left here on the Clemson 10 with Michael Dean Perry.
Sure.
Number 9, Michael Dean, what's one thing most people still don't know about Michael Dean Perry?
I don't know. My life is an open book. What do people still don't know about Michael Dean Perry? I'll tell you this. It happened. I don't think it happened in college, but in the pros. Of course, when you leave college and you go to the pros, the caliber of athlete, of course, is a lot different. And my rookie year, I went to Cleveland, and it has never changed in 10 years I played pro ball. That when we would go one-on-one with the offensive lineman pass rush drills, I was always nervous about the one-on-ones. I was an all-pro. I was a player of the year, the whole nine. It didn't matter. The next year, I was all that in 1989. 1990, of course, my first one-on-one with the offensive line, I was always nervous. And after that one-on-one, then I was fine. I never got nervous again because after a season, you don't know if you lost a step or can you still do it. Do you still have the quickness mentally? So whenever I did one-on-ones the first day and I was successful, then I was like, okay, I still have it. So that's probably the one thing that deals with Michael Dean Perry is that he was nervous probably the first day of training camp for 10 years when he played NFL.
Probably ended up working out for you, though, because you kind of kept that edge. You know, you got that's.
What's that?
I say you kept that edge. You know, I think that's always healthy, though. I mean, if you go in there overconfident, but to keep that edge, that probably drove you more than you realized. But finally, number 10, Michael Dean. In 10 years, what do you hope Clemson fans still remember about you?
I think what Clemson fans remember is that when I played ball, I played hard. I pretty much left it all on the field. I wanted to do the very best that I possibly can and be very entertaining. I think that's what I'll.
Michael Dean, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I know Clemson Tiger fans can't wait to hear from you again, and we'd love to have you on the show next season.
Hey, guys, anytime you want to talk, just give me a call. I got the gift of gab. That's what some people tell me anyway.
Fantastic. Michael Dean Perry. All right, take care. Michael Dean.
You too.
Michael Dean Perry, ladies and gentlemen, here on TigerNet Talk, presented by Cross Creek Timber and Cross Creek Realty. You know, he said he had the gift for gab. I would have talked to him all night. I'm not even kidding. I would have shut down the system. I would have just closed it down, show's over, and talked with Michael Dean Perry. I really could have done that. Was he unbelievable? Good gracious. Stay with us. Blake Austin of South Carolina Farm Bureau is an insurance agent you can count on to meet all your needs. Home, auto, health, life, you name it, Blake's got you covered, and he can save you on your yearly rates. Call him now for a free quote. 803-259-5008. That's 803-259-5008. Or just go to ClemsonSportsTalk.com and click on the Farm Bureau logo to be connected to Blake. Do like I do and work with the best agent around, and you can tweet that. Hey there, Tiger fans. When you take yourself out to the ball game, make sure that you're staying at the Clemson University Conference Center and Inn. That's right, it's the closest hotel to Doug Kingsmore Stadium. Lakeside accommodations, complimentary continental breakfast bar with waffles, the Seasons by the Lake restaurant, Joe's Place Bar, and the Walker Golf Course are all waiting for you right around the corner from Doug Kingsmore Stadium. For reservations, contact General Manager Sharon Franks at sharonf@clemson.edu or call 1-888-654-9020 and ask to speak to Sharon. Buy yourself some peanuts and Cracker Jacks, but make sure that you stay at the Clemson University Conference Center and Inn. A winning team requires having great team members. If you're a landowner interested in selling timber or are considering buying or selling land, call the winning team of Cross Creek Timber and Cross Creek Realty, LLC today. Put the knowledge and skills of professional licensed foresters and realtors to work for your team. To learn more about services offered by Cross Creek Timber and Cross Creek Realty, LLC, visit www.crosscreektimber.com and easily follow the link to real estate. or reach them by phone 864-517-3620 or 864-517-3621.
There's something about looking and feeling classy that everyone enjoys. Check out Edisto Outdoors, an apparel brand inspired by our southern animals and environment. These shirts feature soft touch prints that will keep you looking your best in all types of weather. Look for Edisto Outdoors coming soon to many fine retailers across the state, or visit www.edistooutdoors.com. Technical, comfortable, livable.
This is Clemson Tom, and you're listening to Clemson Sports Talk. So sit down and have you a cold one and listen to a true American.
I like driving down Clemson Boulevard.
Welcome back into TigerNet Talk, presented by Cross Creek Timber and Cross Creek Realty. Thank you so much to everybody who's watching this show live, if you're listening to the podcast edition, or if you're catching just when we cut out the interview, because we will do that in a few days. We'll put just the interview up on ClemsonSportsTalk.com if you just want to get that. Michael Dean Perry, I can't say enough about him coming on the program, because he was truly, I mean, I say this about a lot of the guests that I have, but, and like I've always said, I don't just go out and try and find guys. I say, well, this guy is well-spoken, this guy can tell a great story, this guy, we bring these guys in, you always hope for the best, and Michael Dean Perry delivered like very, very few have here on the program. They've all been great, but Michael Dean, to hear some of those old stories back from the days of Clemson Tiger football with Danny Ford. I mean, he talked about beating people up coming into Death Valley when he was getting his chance to return to Clemson. That's that mentality everybody's looking for right now on the defensive side of the ball. Sure, we know we're explosive offensively, but defensively, can we get that edge, that modern-day term swagger back when we get out on the field and really handle business? And I know a lot of you are excited because earlier today, the Clemson Tigers, of course, kicked off spring practices. We've got a couple of great things coming up for you here on the program. Chancey Stuckey, you may have heard his interview here on the show not that long ago. Chancey's going to be doing a little two-part series with us on a Sunday and Wednesday next week. So Clemson Hotline, Sunday night at 9 o'clock. That's this coming Sunday. Chancey Stuckey and I will sit down and talk about the Clemson Tiger offense as they head through spring football. Then on Wednesday, 1 week from today, right here with us on TigerNet Talk, we will talk about the Clemson Tiger defense, our expectations, what we see or what we expect to see. There's going to be some things defensively that you're still kind of in a holding pattern, if you will, because of some of the young guys that you hope will come in and be influential. But can those linebackers, develop? Will we start to see a guy like Stephon Anthony step in and become the player that many people thought he was going to be, or Tony Stewart? I mean, Anthony's had his moments. Stewart's underperformed. If this is their junior year, this is when the five-star guys have to show up, or you label them maybe as busts, unfortunately. And then how about a guy like Kellen Jones coming in over from Oklahoma? He'll get a chance to play this season, obviously. I was on the radio, I believe that was Tuesday afternoon down in Brunswick, Georgia. B.J. Bennett and the guys from SouthernPigskin.com had me on their radio show down there. Matter of fact, they broadcast now into Hilton Head, just talking about the season, the excitement around the Georgia football game. We're going to have a whole lot of that to talk about in the upcoming days. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to make sure that you tune in Sunday nights, Wednesday nights, 9 p.m. If you miss something, ClemsonSportsTalk.com is your place to go to listen to some of those old interviews and old shows. Go to TigerNet.com each and every day. Go to the message boards to talk with other Clemson Tiger fans. If you enjoy our chat room, you'll enjoy Tiger Active Chat. You'll enjoy the main message board over there at TigerNet. You go in there, spend some time there. You'll see our show, TigerNet Talk, come up sometime tomorrow. Probably a nice big picture of Michael Dean Perry on there. And I do appreciate you coming by each and every time. Tweet to us, hashtag TNTalk. I know I'm giving you a lot of information. I know. I'm sorry. You can rewind it, though, if you're listening to the podcast edition. Those of you that are live, you can see the information right here below. But we want to hear from you, Tiger fans. Look, I know it's not Clemson football season. I get that. The baseball team not playing as well as maybe you had hoped. They did get a victory over my dad's Wofford Terriers. I ain't scared of no Terrier dog, Dad. 9-2, Clemson takes them down. But yeah, I get that. I understand the expectations going into the Atlantic Coast Conference tournament won't be much, but the final ACC game this weekend, 2:30 Saturday at Miami, a chance maybe if you can play well or even find a way to squeak out a win to end up in a bracket where Miami is the toughest team you would face, potentially if you could make some kind of magical run. At least you can say that about basketball. We'll sit here in December and complain about the BCS and the formula and is Team X better than Team Y or should Team A be in the national championship game. Here's the thing good about college basketball. You can be terrible almost all season in every conference. And if you can have a magical run, you can still play or at least dance in the NCAA tournament. Will Clemson dance in the NCAA tournament? I highly doubt it. Do they have a chance at it? They have a better chance at this point in dancing in the NCAA tournament than probably Clemson Tiger football did at playing in the national championship game going into the final game of the season. That's a fair statement to make, I think. Anyway, oddly enough, even though the seasons are in completely different directions, but the way the sport lays out, what is it, 10 wins and you're in the national championship game or you win the national championship? That's all I need is a 10-game winning streak right now, and I'm a happy Tiger. That's all I'm saying to you people. Anyway, we will see you all. Thank you so much for being here. Sunday night, 9 p.m. for Clemson Hotline, and next week, Wednesday night at 9 o'clock for more TigerNet Talk. And don't miss Chancey Stuckey on both shows previewing Clemson Spring and the expectations around the program. Until then, I'm your host, Lawton Swan. Thank you very much for being here. And as always, y'all take care now, and go Tigers!